Hello everyone, back with me again, Adam from Kicking Us Football. Today, it's really exciting day because we'll talk about interesting topic about how come Napoli can be really great this season. The club that got really special attention from around the world this season, and of course, we all already here with the person that I believe the one who capable to talk about this topic. We're all already here with Dom from Napoli Talk. And would you mind to introduce a little bit about yourself to our viewers in Indonesia?
Yeah, so hi guys. First off, it's a pleasure to speak with you guys today about football and Napoli. So I have a YouTube channel that focuses specifically on Napoli. After every game, I go live and with the fans, we review the Napoli performances. If there's any big transfer stories, we'll cover it. And so, yeah, it's pretty much just a channel focused on how Napoli does, how they play, and all the ins and outs of the club.
Yep. Thank you, Dom, for your introduction. It is a pleasure, actually, for us to have you in our channel. And yep, without any further ado, let's jump into my first question, Dom. I'm wondering, how do you feel when all key players, all key players from last season just left this club at the same time, I mean, like Insigne, Mertens, the players that also considerably as the club legends and icon, and also Fabian Ruiz, the maestro, one of my favorite players, and also Kalidou Koulibaly, that arguably as one of the best Serie A defenders of all time. And what things that came to your mind and other Napoli fans when it happened last year?
Yeah, I mean, guys, it was a difficult summer and difficult actually few months because actually Insigne, we already knew he was leaving around November, December, right? And he was playing the last 6 months and we knew that we would lose Insigne, but we lost 5 out of 11 starters, some of the key players. So in goal, we had Ospina, who, Maignan was the best keeper last year in the Serie A, and after that, it was Ospina. Koulibaly. We lost also Fabian Ruiz, as you said, which was the best goal scorer outside of the box in all of Europe last season. We got a lot of points thanks to his goals. We lost Mertens, which was our top all-time goal scorer.
Yep.
It was really brutal. And then I think, the team also lost a few people in the changing room, like, for example, Gulam, who was there for a lot of time. So difficult for the Napoli fans. And then when we saw that Dybala wasn't coming in, we were rumored to have Dybala come in for Mertens. When we saw that Dybala wasn't coming, we were like, wow, guys, what's happening here? But the recruitment for Napoli has been top level. And even in previous seasons, like we would get players like Rachmani that, not many people maybe were aware of, playing for Verona. And, we focused on players that had been both in the Serie A, so Raspadori, Simeone, because I think in the goal scoring position, it's good to have someone that's familiar with the championship. And I thought those were very clever investments. And then we added other players that maybe people didn't really know about, such as Kim and Kvara. And wow, those guys, what a revelation. I expected Kvara to do well. I did a video on him back in April, so a few months before he first stepped foot for Napoli. And when I saw those videos of him and when I saw his performances against the big teams, against Spain, against Macedonia, against all these guys, I thought, wow, what a player. He can perform against some top guys in Europe. So I expected him to do well, but not that fast. It was like from the first minute, he was great. And Kim, I had no idea about Kim, didn't even watch a single video of him before he played for Napoli. And from the first friendly, I thought, okay, he is someone that, what really struck me was whenever the ball was played into him, he wouldn't stop it. He would immediately first time pass to another player. And in the first friendly that he did, he took the ball and started going down the field with it. And I thought, wow, this guy has personality. He's got confidence. He's calm, collected. It's like seeing Koulibaly 2.0. So credit to the Napoli scouting team.
Yep,
yeah.
a new monster. new monster
Yeah.
in
Oh
Serie
my
A.
God.
So
Yeah. But the fans were worried. But then, again, from the first day of the season, we were like, okay, no, these guys actually know how to play football, so it's gonna be okay.
so you already know the new players that the management bring to this club to be a successor of the key players. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we knew the ones that were coming from the Serie A, Raspadori and Simeone. They had been scoring goals for Sassuolo in Raspadori's case, and Simeone, he's been playing for 4 or 5 different Serie A teams by now, and we knew what we were getting. And actually, when we take a look at the attack, I think deep down, a lot of people were upset with Mertens and Insigne leaving, but deep down they knew that they were past their prime. Insigne hadn't scored from open play very much last season. Mertens wasn't playing more than 20 minutes. So all of a sudden we get someone like Raspadori to replace Mertens, and not only can he also score goals, but he can play for 90 minutes at a time because he's young, right? Whereas Mertens maybe couldn't offer that too much for us. And then Simeone replacing Petagna, that was also key. Petagna, he's a decent striker, but
Traditional striker.
Fitness doesn't really match Napoli's like style of fast-paced football, on the ground football. But Simeone instead, he's got much more determination, much more fitness, overall a better striker. So I think we really improved in that side of the field, honestly. And so these were the players that we knew. We also got in the midfield Ndombele, which people that follow European football might have been aware of from his time at Lyon and Tottenham. He was a player with a lot of potential before going to Tottenham, and then he kind of fell off a little bit, and people in England criticized him a lot. And even Spurs fans, even today, they want Napoli to buy him because we got him on loan. They want us to buy him and get him out of Tottenham. But actually, he's been okay. He needed to recover his fitness, but you can see moments of like pure brilliance from him. Not a lot because he doesn't play too much, but at least once a game, he'll have a moment that you say, wow, only a really talented player can pull something like this off. He just needs to have more consistency. But then the other surprises, as I said, Kvara, Kim, but also surprises this year came in the form of players that we already had, like Meret, who didn't play much last season and actually cost us maybe the title with his mistakes against Empoli and all that. He was getting a lot of criticism. We were maybe supposed to get Navas to replace him, and instead, he's been great for us. Very solid, improved his distribution and his passing. Honestly, everybody stepped it up this year. It's been a real nice surprise.
Especially, I also noticed that Lobotka and Anguissa is really improved this season. And also Zielinski, these 3 midfielders is really strong this season. That's actually maybe one of the reasons why we lost against Inter a few days ago, because Zielinski and Anguissa coming back from the World Cup, they didn't look very fit. They didn't participate in any of the preseason training or friendlies, and I mean, our midfield is kind of like our engine, no? And if they don't play well, then Napoli doesn't play well. So it shows just how important they are. So this club just running, rejuvenate, refresh the club with young talented players, and when we get back to AC Milan in 2013 and 14, it's really goes wrong. It's really failed when rejuvenate. But Napoli doing something different. They prove they can rejuvenate and be more superior than before. I think that is really interesting to talk about.
Because if you invest a lot of money on these young players and they don't turn out to be good, then you have a few dark years like it happened to AC Milan.
So let's talk about this new generation. What do you think? The things that makes this club, really superior in Serie A and Champions League this season, is its quality strategy that can maximize every players on the pitch, or is it because many players just grew up and in their top performance though?
There's so many factors of why Napoli did really well. One of them is definitely Spalletti. The way that he's been playing football recently is quite interesting. Some players don't seem to not have a position on the field. We pass the ball around, and whenever there's space for us to exploit, someone will go into that space. It doesn't matter if you're the right back, the striker, the midfielder. If there's space, if there's a gap that exists between two defenders, someone will make that run. And we've seen at times Di Lorenzo sneak up as a number 9, and like, how did he get there? But it's just because he saw the space first and he went. And so there's definitely a tactical innovation there from Spalletti. It's kind of similar to how Guardiola likes to play at times, even though obviously we're not the same machine as Man City. And then these new players, they've brought two things. One is what we call in Italy grinta, which is like the desire to win the ball, the desire to attack the ball. And we see that with Raspadori, with Simeone, with Kim. Like they really want to get stuck in, which is something maybe that, I don't know, Insigne didn't have, for example, right? He was maybe a bit scared of a tackle, whereas you see Raspadori really, he wants to fight for the ball. So we added that to our game. And then also it's very interesting to say, but they are ignorant to the pressure of playing for Napoli. So I think that players like Koulibaly, Insigne, Mertens, they really felt the pressure, and that's why Napoli always ended up so close. But then they would, at the end of the season, I think they would always crumble. And it's because they knew how much it means to the fans, to the city to win. And I think the pressure sometimes got to them, especially for a player like Insigne, who was Neapolitan. You could really tell that he was very stressed in some games. In the big games, you could see from his face the stress that he had. Whereas like these guys from South Korea, from Georgia coming in, like they just don't know what it means. Out of nowhere. They just don't know. So they go there completely ignorant in a positive way to the pressures, and they just play football. They don't feel the pressure of winning and all that, because for them it's like, whatever. But if you live the city, if you're from the city, like people like Insigne, like winning can be scary, or like attempting to win can be scary, because it's a lot of pressure. So I think those things helped us this season.
As I mentioned before, I am a Milan fan, so I'm quite familiar with Napoli for years, and a lot of people in Indonesia think that Napoli is like Arsenal, or similar like Arsenal in Premier League, because this club often really impressive in the first half of the season, but seems always gets out, run out of energy in the second half of the season. Also, a loss from Inter in the first match in 2023, it's just like a sign it will happen again. What do you think, Dom?
I agree. It's a little bit like Arsenal. They're a team with a big fan base. They like to play more the nice, attractive football, which doesn't always mean it's the winning type of football. There's, teams like in the Premier League, for example, teams like Chelsea, and back in the day, not this year, but back in the day, they used to be more direct and just win at any cost. And then you had on the other side of the city, Arsenal, which was like the flair, So Napoli has always been a bit more about flair. Juventus, Inter have been much more about just grinding out results. Milan, I think, has always been in the middle of those two things. And that's also why they're quite successful, because they can do a bit of both. So we are a bit like that, and it's long overdue for us to start winning in the league. I think in the last 10 years, we've been maybe the most consistent teams in terms of being
top 4,
over the course of 10 years in the top 4, challenging for the title. Obviously not every year, but you can expect, you know, like if not that year, then the next year we'll challenge, right? Whereas other teams have kind of dropped off for 5 years, 6 years, you know. So Napoli has been always there, you know, and just never won it. So I think it's about time now. And yeah, I can't remember the second part of the question, something about Inter, but
I mean, a loss from Inter in 2023, it's related to, you know, Napoli usually gets out, you know, in the second half of the season. Really impressive in the first half, but in the next season, it's kind of, you know, start to suffer many loss.
Yeah, even though, like, for example, last season, we basically suffered a lot in November, December, when Osimhen got injured. And actually in the 2022, we had basically all wins except for the loss against Milan. And then Di Lorenzo got injured with 5 games to go, and we basically couldn't play anymore. Like he got injured and we were done. We lost to Empoli, we lost to Fiorentina, we drew to Roma, and you know, it was mainly because of that injury and the pressure of the situation. So I'm hoping we can go, you know, and not have a negative moment, a negative like few games. It's important to recover from the loss against Inter. Like, it's mathematically still in our hands, obviously, like we're top of the table, but yeah, mentally it sucks not to have won or at least gotten a draw at Inter. It would have been very useful for us, and maybe could have closed the title race, honestly. If we won against Inter, I think people would be like, okay, yeah, Napoli have got this. So
still be one of the club that unbeaten in top 5 league, you know. So
that would have been crazy, but I think it's expected. It's expected to lose a game. If you're going to lose a game, you might as well lose it against one of the other top 4 teams and away from home, right? And I think it's over the course of 38 games, it would be considered normal. That is much nicer than losing to some team in 17th or 16th place, and you say, wow, we really should have won that game, you know. Like, but losing against the rival away from home, I think that's okay in the grand scheme of things for the season.
So yeah. And what do you think, Dom? I'm curious, what positions are the weakness of current Napoli squad, and what kind of players does Napoli need to make this team more better or improve the squad even further?
So the biggest weakness that we had up until yesterday was Di Lorenzo replacement. I mentioned briefly how when he was injured last year for 4 games, we only won 1 of those games. And we managed to get Sampdoria's captain as on loan, and he's a right back, so he's experienced, and I think we've solved that issue. And then the other issue that we had is the right wingers. So I'm not a fan of either Politano or Lozano. I think they're both, like, if you could put both of them together into one player, then that'd be great, right? But they have like half and half of what makes a good player. Lozano, I don't think is very good at composure and ball control and you know, playing nice fluid football. He's very good at like getting into the box and getting fouls. Politano instead is a bit better at playing fluid football, but his decision making is bad at times. He maybe dribbles a bit too much.
Cut inside and try to shoot
a bit
from outside the box.
A bit predictable. I think you can do that if you are called Arjen Robben and every time you cut inside you score, then that's great, you know. He was very predictable but efficient. Politano is not Robben. Politano cuts inside, is predictable, and doesn't score. So it's
a lot of opportunity that, you know, Politano missed that, you know.
Yeah, and especially if you have Kvara on the left, then you can really see every game, wow, on the left we're doing so much, and on the right it's always like, I don't know. So yeah, that's probably our biggest weakness now.
Okay. So my next question is, what do you think? How far can Napoli go in this season in Champions League and Serie A? What are your expectations about that?
Wow, Serie A, I think
I
it would be a
well,
disappointment. It would be a huge disappointment if we don't go all the way in the Serie A.
Of
Like,
course.
if Napoli don't win, then if they don't win this year, I don't think we could ever win. Like it would mean there's a curse against Napoli if we don't win this year, pretty much. Because throwing away 8 points that you have at Christmas is a lot. Coppa Italia, I think, we could win it just like any of the top 4 teams could win it. It's, it's one of those where it's like a one-off game to win the final, and we're all capable of beating each other on any given day, right? You never know how the top 4, if they play against each other, how it's going to go. And then the Champions League, I expect us to beat Frankfurt and go to the quarterfinals. And then in the quarterfinals, unless we get the top 4 teams that are left, then maybe we could even make it further. If we manage to grab either Borussia Chelsea, which is one of the fixtures, Tottenham Milan, we could, potentially, it's one of those again where it's 50. If it's Milan Napoli, it's 50-50, right?
Yeah.
So
at least it's not a PSG or Manchester City, right?
Yeah, I think if it's like those guys, Inter, Porto, Bruges, Benfica, we can have a 50-50 chance of getting to the semi-final. If you get obviously a PSG, a Real Madrid, a Bayern, then maybe the quarterfinals is the best thing that we can do. But yeah, I think we should be able to beat Frankfurt in the round of 16.
Yeah, I believe Napoli will pass it to a quarterfinal. So, we run out of the time. So my last question, the best 11 of all time in Napoli. What do you think?
Whoa, of all time?
Yeah, of all time, from goalkeeper.
Jeez. Wow. Okay, that's a tough question. Wow, there's, especially in attack, there's so many players I would put.
There's Cavani, of course. Higuain.
Yeah. Higuain is so difficult to put.
Okay.
Oh my god. I'll put on the left Lavezzi. People will want me to put
Kvaratskhelia.
He's not done enough for us.
Okay.
I think he has the potential, but he's played with us for 2 months. So I'll go easy on that. Okay. We'll see how it goes. I'll put Lavezzi. I think he's a fun guy to have in the team. I'll put striker Cavani. I'll put on the right, even though it's not his favorite position, Mertens.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't play on the right, but I'll put him in that trio of attack, and him and Lavezzi can switch positions, and also with Cavani.
Yeah.
Behind them, I'll have a midfield of Hamsik, Maradona, and so they'll play on like the external midfield roles, and then in the middle of the midfield as a holding midfielder, I'll go with you know what? I'll go with Jorginho.
Okay.
There's better players that have played with us in midfield, especially like the teams in the 80s and stuff like that. But Jorginho managed to get top 3 in the Ballon d'Or a few years ago. I think that needs to be rewarded. In defense, Koulibaly. Center backs, wow. Napoli's had some good center backs. We've had Kroll from Holland. We've had Cannavaro play, even though he was young. We've had Ciro Ferrara. I think maybe the one that has won with us and like made an impact and was kind of at his prime was probably Ciro Ferrara. So I'll go with Koulibaly Ferrara.
Left
back, Yeah, left back, that's also tricky. But you know what? Mario Rui this season has been a legend for us. An incredible amount of assists. I'll put Mario Rui in there.
Mario Rui.
Which is crazy to think, because if you had asked me 12 months ago, I would not have put Mario Rui. And he probably doesn't deserve it, but I'm having some recency bias, you know?
Yeah.
And then on the right, I used to really like Christian Maggio. I grew up with Christian Maggio on the right. So
I know that. I know that.
I put Maggio
over
Maggio there.
Dilo.
Even though he's probably not, you know, the best we've had in history. It's just I'm emotionally attached to Christian Maggio. And then in goal, we've had some good players. We've had recently Pepe Reina. Ospina had a great season last year, but I mean, I think we would have to go with Dino Zoff, who played for Italy as well. So yeah, but I mean, I am leaving out some big names. I'm leaving out Careca in attack. I'm leaving out like incredible names, and I'm putting in some of the maybe I'm more familiar with a bit. That's maybe because I've seen more of them, so I have some emotional attachment. But if you were to ask the previous generation, or if I go through that book there, which is 85-year history of Napoli, you'll see some absolute legends that I'm missing out. And yeah.
Wow, without any players in current squad, right? So,
in the current squad, no, but there's potential. Kvara has definitely potential. Kvara, if he has 2 or 3 seasons the same he had the last 2 months, then he could be a serious contender for top 3 or 4 players in our history, honestly.
Yep. I think that's all. We run out of the time, and thanks again for your time, Dom. It is a pleasure to have you in our channel. And guys, don't forget to subscribe Dom's channel at Napoli Talk. If you are Napoli fans or Serie A fans, you need to subscribe Dom channel.
And it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure for me as well, guys. And good luck for everything.
Yep. And thanks for watching. We hope you all enjoy today's talk, and have a good day. See you again on the other Pundit Talk, and cheers. Bye bye.
Ciao.